We're going to kick things off with, quite frankly, the game that just ended. Let's talk about Orlando Pride versus Chicago Red Stars. This one ending in a really chaotic way because it had to, right, Lisa? Like we should have predicted that this is the last game on the Sunday slate of games. So this was the game that was going to not walk away in peace. It was going to have chaotic energy in the final 10 minutes. And it did. This one ending in a 4-2 scoreline. Chicago Red Stars, though, taking all 3 points. The action coming in this one, not super early. I was looking for the early goal from Orlando, quite frankly, but Chicago Red Stars had different ideas in this one. They got on the board in the 11th minute and by way of a rookie goal. So shout out to Sarah Griffith for racking up her first regular season pro goal.
Yeah, this was huge. I think you said it best, Sandra. The first half of this game didn't have that much. I mean, compared to the last 10 minutes of this game, the last 20 minutes of this game. But because of that, it did allow for so much to be opened up in the second half because this game was played in Orlando at Exploria Stadium. We knew Mallory Pugh was available off the bench as a substitute, which is the first time that she's even been available in a regular season game. And to not see her not get the start was not at all surprising. Knew that she needed to kind of work her way back into things. But yeah, you're right. I mean, for Chicago to get on the board first against a team like Orlando Pride that has historically throughout this regular season scored in the first, I'm going to give them 5 minutes, but it's been like 4 minutes mostly. That was crucial for Chicago to keep Orlando off the board and instead impose their game onto Orlando a little bit. And you could tell that Chicago hasn't played for a minute and they were feeling healthy and they were looking pretty fresh. But to get off on the board first for Chicago, that was huge. And then in the second half, I mean, it was bam, bam action because Mallory Pugh came on at the halftime as well. So that was also a bit of a game changer, I think, for Chicago, knowing that they now have Mallory Pugh, who's been itching to get back on the pitch and gunning for it throughout the first 45 minutes. And I'm sure at halftime, a vocal Pugh with her teammates, encouraging them to do different things or where the open space was. Because as a player who traditionally plays 90 minutes, maybe 80 will give for Pugh, to then be sidelined for not just 45 minutes, but also multiple games and be able to watch your team play on the pitch. And then for 45 minutes, knowing that you're most likely going to play at the second half, at the start of the second half, I'm sure that was communicated with her, to watch the first 45 minutes and be able to find the holes and you are studying the game from a different perspective. And that's exactly what Pugh did, because as soon as she stepped on the pitch, it was Pugh's game.
I was a little thrown off, honestly, because I was curious. It was something with Mallory Pugh being out for these last several weeks. They were taking it really easy with her with the initial concussion diagnosis, and she was participating in training, and then they were, guiding her through contact and stuff like that. So it was like she was doing some stuff on the ball, on her own, and then more with team and then actual contact. So they were, with this early in the season, they were taking it easy. So I was a little curious with this game where she was kind of given the green light, what type of minute restriction it would look like. So I was a little curious is that it was an actual going to be a full 45 minutes plus.
Yeah.
But knowing that this Orlando Pride team had a number of games under their belt before getting to this Sunday, I would imagine that some of the space that they saw being given to them in that first half, they wanted to maybe try to expose a little bit more and capitalize on in that second half. And that's absolutely what we saw from Mal Pugh. I mean, she got on and the first thing she did was record an assist for the Chicago Red Stars, but it was almost like she had just so much time to make a decision with the ball at her feet, just outside the body, and you could just see, like, in her body language, was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna dink this way and see what happens. And all of a sudden, Bianca St. George scores this ridiculous goal from this ridiculous angle, and they have the go-ahead goal there. And then obviously we saw them continue to add on the goals, but there were moments throughout it where there were absolute vibes in this game where I was like, okay, it looks like there's a team here that has played some extended minutes this week, a midweek match. And there's another team that hasn't played a midweek match, but Chicago, like you mentioned, Lisa, is a team that hasn't been able to sort of get into a rhythm in this regular season yet, just due to some of the Challenge Cup overlap and stuff like that.
That's really what it was, just Chicago trying to get a little bit of consistency, and that's almost maybe why the first half was a little slower and a little more predictable and not as much action, because throughout the second half is when this game really unfolded. I think Vanessa DiBernardo in the midfield was phenomenal for Chicago, being really influential in the ways that she was contributing to the attack. You mentioned Bianca St. George's getting the second goal for Chicago. I was super happy about that too. Her second goal of the regular season, and a player that in the absence of Mallory Pugh has stepped up as a forward in St. George's, and to continue to do that and shine alongside Pugh is very promising for the future of the Chicago Red Stars this year, when they have to go through a lot of rotation. But Sandra, we've got to talk about the last 10, 15 minutes of this match, because Orlando is trying to gain a bit of possession. They're trying to gain a bit of momentum, and there ends up being a penalty kick called inside the box against Chicago, and it is Sydney Leroux who lines up over top of this ball. This is the 81st minute, and
smart. I loved it.
It was, Sydney Leroux is the right person to line up over this one, and it is saved by Alyssa Nair, and saved phenomenally. Like, dives on top of it, doesn't let it go anywhere from her reach, and immediately there's a response in this kind of moment happening, because Orlando was a little ticked off, and Sydney Leroux is then running this field, which we see Leroux, this happens to her so often. She gets a fire lit under her, and not scoring that penalty kick, that was the match to light that fire. And Orlando, they're able to get on the board. Just 2 minutes later, a goal from Amy Turner. This was a really, really good goal from Orlando. Where was the Chicago defense? There was no one marking Amy Turner on the back post. So this was 83rd minute. And then down on the other side of the pitch, 86th minute, another penalty kick called, this time in favor of Chicago. Mallory Pugh steps up to take it. You love to see that. She does hit it right down the middle. It is saved by Erin McLeod. So you can see on the stat sheet, there's 2 missed penalty kicks in this match in the very final 10 minutes of this game. However, Pugh is able to get the rebound, and she notches her second goal right there at that moment, which
a bit of insurance, quite frankly, for the Red Stars. It's just see this score line kind of just get bigger and bigger as the game was trying to wind down. We were chatting a little bit off mic about it. I was like, that was comedy to me. I'm like, I was kind of cracking up a little bit.
Before I could like type what had happened, I was like, oh, something else has happened now.
It's like, I'll just wait. Just wait, and then we'll figure it out as it is. Wild end to that one. But I think if for, obviously neutral.
And Orlando ends up scoring again. They get another goal. Leah Pruitt, she notches a goal for Orlando in the 87th minute or so. So Orlando kept fighting until the very end.
Which I love that for Pruitt, quite frankly, just because she's someone who's been putting in a lot of work. I think in that front line for Orlando Pride team. I think at one point prior to the midweek match was leading the team in like chances created. So it was good to sort of see her get a goal in this one for the Pride. But just an exciting. I think if you're a neutral, right, taking a look at this kind of game, you're like, wow, like this is what is happening in a game like this. But I think obviously if you're the Orlando side of things, you could sort of see that early part of the first half where maybe the concept was like, okay, we're not going to maybe hit the high press. Maybe we're not going to, be kind of mid-blockish. Maybe we're going to just sort of see what the game presents us. And unfortunately, the Red Stars got on the scoreboard very early. So there was this sort of chasing of a game kind of probably much earlier than Orlando Pride kind of anticipated. But I think reserving enough in the tank to sort of make a run of things at the final stages there. But again, I loved it for all the neutrals, and loved it for us because I think we both had Chicago picked in this one, and when we were talking about our previews and making our picks. So this one was nice to cap off for our attacking third duo here, where we're both just like, yes, this is nice. We get to look like we made the right pick here.
Exactly. Yeah. And I agree, being a neutral in this one, and as just a fan to kind of get NWSL people in, what a great game to watch.
Yeah, right on. Let's move on to some of the other games that were taking place there, because there's several that we have to get through. Let's take a look at some of these expansion sides, everybody. The expansion sides are staying on top of the standings after this weekend's matches. Let's start with Angel City versus Kansas City Current. Maybe we should start with the picks that we made in this one, Lisa. Got to expose ourselves.
Okay, I love this. So Kansas City, you had Kansas City winning, and I had a draw in this match between KC and Angel City FC. So neither of us were
Sure.
correct in this one because Angel City walks away with the late night win.
Maybe like a little bit of different chaotic energy. So we're going from the
Mhm.
Chicago Orlando game where there was like massive goals in these final 2 minutes, but we had own goal make an appearance in this match. A narrow win
Yeah.
for Angel City against Kansas. Kansas City said that is still looking for a regular season win, and we're also still looking for that as well from them. But Kristen Press just getting it done, just being
Holy cow.
relentless, just on the ball in the box, forcing it in there and forcing the own goal. And that,
Did
if you're Kansas City, you're just like, okay, like this is clearly not going our way. How do we try to get back into this? And it wasn't for lack of effort, but the scoreline just didn't go their way.
Exactly. I mean, this game was interesting because it really was a lot just Kristen Press. I think Simone Charlie had a good run as well in this combination play with Press, but how the goal happened and unfolded essentially, it was Press on a bit of a breakaway, and the ball actually gets caught up under her. And I might be misremembering this because this was yesterday and I watched 4 games today, but she then like is about to cross it in and it gets slid out from under her. And honestly, on the
Yeah.
replay, it looks like it goes out of bounds. Honest to God.
Depends on
I
the angles,
think
right? I
it does.
mean,
There's no VAR, so it doesn't happen. The broadcasters didn't talk about it, so it clearly wasn't a point of contention. But from the camera angles that I saw, could have crossed the line. However, Press is somehow able to slide and she gets this cross off. And my heart is breaking a bit here for Taylor Leach for
yeah,
Kansas City because as this ball comes into the center of the goal, she has no pressure on her. It was Press as Angel City versus 5 Kansas City players. And there was no one else from Angel City really streaking or forcing this to happen. And it was a really unlucky touch by Taylor Leach that finds the back of the net. And I could just see on her face, and they showed it on the replay, just
yeah.
pure devastation from Leach. And that hurts for a team in Kansas City that's been struggling throughout this regular season. That's just another dagger in their heart, and that's really rough. They had a great opportunity on a set piece, which was an incredible save by Didi Herrera, goalkeeper for Angel City, a great little touch over the crossbar. But if that was another rookie goal that we saw on a set piece opportunity, because Racing Louisville has been doing that back to back, and if Alex Luera put that away, we know that Luera can nail a free kick like
Yeah.
that. Though that's something that the opponents are circling.
I
Don't
think
foul too close. Luera can put this on frame.
I love that you brought that point up, because I think this has to, like, on the Kansas City side of things, this has to be such a, I would imagine, such a frustrating
Heartbreaking.
result to walk away with, and this is a team that we saw go and win their Challenge Cup group stage, host a semifinal, right? Stay and have a competitive semifinal.
Yeah.
Um but fall just short of getting to that cup final and navigating these early parts of the regular season and coming out with these strong individual performances. And I think, like, when you have these types of results, when you're still on the hunt for your win in a regular season, that's what maybe they're sort of circling, or that's what they're pointing out in terms of finding like your silver linings out of this. So like maybe it's, a young rookie like Loera, like still going out there and having really good performances, and a player like Elise Bennett, who is working her way back into form, like, even though like was questionable for at one point with the team, is still trying to have an impact in the attack. Like, these are little things I think that Kansas City is maybe sort of, kind of hang their hat on for now as
And
they
doing it
continue to
without
navigate things.
big players. Kansas City got hit with
Yeah.
COVID protocol right before this match. There were
Yeah.
4 out due to COVID protocol, and then a
Yeah.
handful others out for, injuries in that sense, and I think Lola Bonta was a huge missing piece in the
Yeah.
midfield for Kansas City going against Angel City that has Savannah McCaskill, Danny Weatherholt in the midfield. That, Lola Bonta against Danny Weatherholt, that would have been a really great matchup, and we didn't get to see that because LaBonta was out due to COVID protocol. I know that you were talking about Kansas City and how they did so well throughout the Challenge Cup. Just a little fun fact here. Kansas City is number 11 right now, second to last in the standings. However, they have 1 point. The team that Kansas City lost to in the semifinals of the Challenge Cup, North Carolina Courage, they have 0 points and they are number 12 in the standings. So I would love to see these two teams play each other tomorrow. I just am
Uh,
so interested as to kind of how this regular season has taken a turn from the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's there are things there, right? I think there are things there from those early weeks in Challenge Cup that maybe we were like, let's hang on to this. Let's hang on to these little nuggets that we're seeing right now, these Challenge Cup nuggets, and hang on to them and sort of see how things play out in the regular season. And I think for Kansas City that there was enough there. Like we saw Elise Bennett putting together these performances in Challenge Cup. Loera putting, Victoria Pickett, and what sort of how rapidly she's become an integral part
Yes.
of this Kansas City current squad. But there's also your experienced veteran players that that you lean on heavily, and not having a Lola Bonta available in a game like this, where maybe sometimes a team like Angel City can struggle a little bit in that middle third, and not having somebody like a LaBonta able to kind of combat that or sort of cancel that out is I think a big loss. So tough, I think, when you have those narrow score lines to begin with. But then I think even more tough, I think, when it comes on an own goal. But I gotta shout out Angel City. They are doing unbelievable things in this early part of the season. They are making things happen with how little they are being given. It's this very interesting combination of sort of looking at the schedule ahead of them, and just sort of taking advantage of what is there in front of them. And
Totally.
I'm appreciating some of these small adjustments that Freya Kuhn is making early in the season, like seeing somebody like Lucy on the flank and further back, because she's able to get more involved in the attack, and having to make those adjustments out of necessity at some point. Again, there's a bit of the COVID protocol bug going around in the league right now, and Angel City has seen that as well with Ali Riley at one point, and that's how we saw the adjustment with Tyler Lucy. But it's sometimes you got to make do with what's in front of you, and Angel City, I think, is capitalizing on that right now, and it's paying off for them.
They exactly are. I mean, having Tyler Lucy in the back is huge. They did something on social where she called her brother or something, saying "Hey, they want me to play left back. What do I do?" So that's amazing, and the fact that she's been able to seamlessly step in there and be a good defender while also having that attacking mindset is huge. I told you about Kansas City. They're 11 in the standings right now. Angel City, number 2 in the standings, behind, I think, the team we're going to talk about next, Sandra. I don't mean to
Yeah,
steal
let's
your
talk about
transition
him. I
here, but
love it.
behind number 1, San
I
Diego Wave FC.
I love a really smooth transition. North Carolina Courage versus San Diego Wave FC. The expansion side's doing what they got to get done. Alex Morgan had her say in this game. Another narrow scoreline for another Cali side. San Diego take this one 1-0 and all 3 points. North Carolina Courage, another team, found success in Challenge Cup. Still trying to translate that over here into the regular season. And I'm a little curious as to maybe how their summer is going to look, because we're still in May. It's still technically spring. But I think when it comes to sort of seeing, I guess, what we could consider more established, maybe elite teams, teams that have had a history or a record of success in this league. You think of your Portland Thorns franchises, or your North Carolina Courage franchises, or, your Chicago Red Stars, teams who have constantly been in playoff conversations and constantly within the top 4 of the league. And sometimes the beginnings of their seasons don't necessarily mirror the end of their season. And I think we're maybe seeing some of these early hiccups right now. For maybe a team like North Carolina Courage. We talked about it with Kansas City. Got to talk about it with North Carolina Courage. They also had been going through a little bit of things with players out on COVID protocol. A different game for this one because they had more of what they could consider some of their key players available in this one. We talked a little bit about if we were going to see Casey Murphy in this match. And quite frankly, with the exception of the very narrow scoreline, thought she had a pretty good game for North Carolina Courage. She's looking back to form and up to speed, I think.
I was exactly going to say that. I have that written down in my notes. We were so unsure if Casey Murphy was playing due to necessity or because she's back and she's ready. And I think she had a much better game this weekend against San Diego than she did in the midweek game for North Carolina. Just maybe a little bit of nerves that she shook off midweek that now we were able to see a lot more of in this match. I mean, despite the narrow scoreline and the one goal, of course, coming from Alex Morgan, that's 5 goals now in 4 games, the last 3 games or something. So incredible stats from Alex Morgan. She's done such a tremendous job carrying the San Diego team offensively, frankly. Yeah. And I think defensively, we have to look at San Diego and what they've been able to do, especially without Abby Dahlkemper in that back line, because she was out for a while. She was actually back, made available throughout this match, and then not being played. But it's Naomi Girma in the center back, the rookie for Casey Stoney, that has really done a tremendous job sitting in front of Kaylin Sheridan and really owning that center back role, doing such a nice job there. It's Girma. Right before this game happened, there was an announcement made by the NWSL committee saying that Kelsey Turnbow had an unsportsmanlike conduct in the last match. So she is to miss the next San Diego Wave match. So right before this game, Kelsey Turnbow is now out for Casey Stoney and for San Diego. And although Kelsey Turnbow isn't starting playing 90 every game and not scoring all the goals, she's a vital part of this team because she gets consistent minutes. She's a rest, honestly, in the midfield for some other players, and to not have her and have to lean a little bit more on some of these other players in Van Egmond and Taylor, Jody Taylor, Taylor Korniak as well. But yeah, throughout this match, I was impressed with Meredith Speck as well for North Carolina, despite not getting on the board for North Carolina. I was very impressed with Speck and how she's been able to step in the absence of a player like Caroline.
You know, I was looking at this game to sort of see like maybe this was going to be the game that North Carolina was able to get out there, and even if they didn't get a win, maybe just get a result against an expansion side that perhaps is still trying to figure some things out. At the very least, maybe see a different type of competitive battle in the middle third between these two teams, because I feel like with the Wave, I think very, very early on, a lot of the storyline and the narrative around them and what we were seeing on the pitch was, gosh, like if they had this, maybe another piece in that middle third, you know, what would they look like? But something else I think has happened for them over this early phase of the season, and it's Taylor Korniak being trusted to take care of some things in the middle here. I think probably the biggest example of this is we got to talk about this goal and how it came to life, which was why I was, you know, a little bit intriguing why that, you know, that watching that announcement come out ahead of this game, the disciplinary committee went back and took a look. Unsportsmanlike conduct, players unavailable. And we saw really early Challenge Cup, early weeks of the season, that maybe there was a little bit of maybe to call it competition for the position. We saw Turnbow in a lower role in the midfield. We've seen Korniak come in and sort of coming in and seeing how either of these players were going to be looking in the system that Casey Stoney is trying to develop with this team. And we've been seeing more of Korniak over this time. And in this match, there was this very peculiar moment where it was a kind of a little bit of a 1v1, Korniak in Debinha. The official was kind of close for comfort, but we see a moment here where these two players kind of going for the ball, and Debinha unfortunately loses that battle.
Mm-hmm.
Expresses some frustration. Looks like she was frustrated with sort of kind of the, Korniak kind of utilizing the official there as maybe a little bit of a pick in some sense, and kind of stops a little bit and expresses the frustration. And all of a sudden, in a second, Korniak finds a lane, feeds Morgan, who was just wide open to drift into the behind the line there. Got played into the box and put that away. You leave her that available, she's gonna make your pay. And all of a sudden, there was also the timing of this. They scored this goal right before halftime.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got a Courage side that has to come out and chase for the remainder of the second half.
Exactly. I think it's so important that we talk about what the lead up to that goal, and potentially using the official as a pick, as a block, as a dummy decoy. That's allowed because the ref is technically a part of the field.
Yeah.
Like if the ball hits off the ref, it doesn't stop. Like that, you just play on. It's like if
Well,
the
you could
ball were to
stop.
hit off
They could stop the
corner
play if
flag,
they
like, you just
deliberately get in the way.
keep
Like,
playing. Yes, and they're not deliberately getting in the way, but like as a center mid, that happens. You dance around the ref all the time. I do it like every night when I play soccer. They're always in the way. So that's kind of how it happened. And the fact that Korniak was able to still, I was impressed with, yes, she had a lot of time and space, Korniak did, but she still played it quickly, and she's able to find such a great seam to lead Alex Morgan, who, was wide open. But I mean, a great shot from Morgan to net this past Casey Murphy for sure.
The Courage had a tough first half there. They weren't able to get much on goal, if anything. And then you saw all of a sudden the numbers from the first half to the second half in this match, obviously leveling out a little bit more shots for the Courage to sort of close things out, 15-9. But ultimately, both of these teams recording just 2 shots on goal, and the Wave making one of their 2 count in this one. And Alex Morgan just still putting together a very long resume ahead of this CONCACAF W championship that's going to take place in July. So it's something that we're going to keep an eye on for sure. But all 3 points for San Diego keeps them relevant and on top of the standings still very early on in this season for sure.